Hello, hi there. Hi, my name is Natasha. I am the creator and the founder of the Glow Up Method, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. My goodness. So we are continuing on this journey we talked about yesterday in regards to the power of self-reflection and self-awareness on this journey to live this life that you are proud of. So here's the thing I'm thinking about today is a lot about the self-reflection. And so for me, my morning started off great. I started off doing all my routine. And then suddenly in the middle of my meditation, there was a really loud, like some kind of machinery that was going on outside my window. And it replaced the place of this zen and the peace and the birds and the guided meditation. Like it was so overpowering. And I felt myself starting to get frustrated, but it was just one sound. And I could kind of work through and see like, okay, this is annoying, but let's just, focus on other things. Like let it come, let it go. Try not to control it. Observe that I was frustrated. So I wrap up my meditation. I head out downstairs, open the windows, do all these things. I get ready to head out for my walk. And I open the door and it's just overpowering. I mean, like it is like my ears are piercing. It is so loud. But I take a deep breath, and it's beautiful weather out today. So I'm really trying to, I'm one who loves a routine, who loves, sticking to a habit. But I'm really like, these walks are a place because I'm taking no technology with me. I do take my watch. I do log it. It helps me to be like, if I want to see how long have I walked, gets me my steps, and actually was a very helpful tool for me today. And so I'll get into that. And so, when we're doing this self-reflection, it's about becoming aware and realizing, how do we respond when life throws us a curveball, when there is something unexpected? And having this practice when we're in a calm environment, just like, when I take my daily dose of dysregulation in the shower. Although I need to figure out a way to get this water colder in the summer, because I'm like, dude, this is not challenging enough. Like I really need to be like, need some colder water. But anyways, it's about how do we respond. So like, what is the difference between reacting to something and responding? Like reacting is kind of like our knee-jerk response, right? Like it's just like what comes up. And a lot of times when we react, I don't know for you for sure, but I know for me, like if I do one of those knee-jerk response reactions, I know a lot of times I kind of regret some of the things I said, or, I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And before, everything was a reaction. Like, I really wanted to be proactive and would be prepared with certain scenarios, which is why, my diaper bags were always overflowing. And, every time another sibling had a soccer game or softball game or whatever it was, I had a whole backpack, make it 2 backpacks filled with toys and color books and all these things, so that I was like proactive, snacks, whatever you think they would need, so that I didn't get a reaction from them, a negative reaction from them. So I learned that there were times that I was very proactive, like in preparation, but when life threw me a curve, and I was fine, right? Like I knew how to respond when the kid had a temper tantrum. You're like, okay, like, I didn't really talk about it with them because I was like, listen, we're in a public place here. I didn't know really how to respond in that way. It was just kind of like, let's just appease you. Let's distract you from whatever is throwing you in a tizzy, whether it be you're bored, you're hot, you're hungry, like you want to go home. You don't want to be sitting here on a blanket watching your sibling play soccer. So I had this proactive means of kind of appeasing them, right? And so, but when there was a scenario I wasn't prepared for, it just hit me out of left field. A lot of times I just reacted. And especially if it was like for me directly, when it came to my kids, there was this other certain sense of kind of, you're the parent, you gotta behave, like whatever it is. But that was no guarantee. So a lot of times I simply reacted. And what the self-reflection journey, what the self-awareness journey and tools have provided me with is a platform and a place to safely learn and safely practice how to respond in a way that aligns with me, that is with my intentions, with my values, with my, intentions of what I leave the world with my kindness, with my love and compassion. And so responding is definitely a more thoughtful action, most of the time. And reacting, it's just that knee jerk, here we are. And so really practicing this self-reflection has opened me up so much. I mean, I've only been doing these consistent outside walks now only. I give myself props, like, good job. So I've been doing it, for what is it? Maybe 3.5 weeks, 2.5 weeks, one of those. And let me tell you, I have found and learned so many profound things about myself. So today's thing, it was just so perfect with what we've been talking about here and the reflecting and the awareness. So again, you're taking out this stimuli. But still, how do we receive information? It's through our senses, through our eyes, through our ears, through our nose, through our mouth, through our senses, our feeling, right? Like, it's just, we're being inundated in any second. Like right now, you're hearing my voice, you're hearing whatever's happening around you. If you're driving in a car, you're hearing other traffic and honking, maybe if you're in an office, like, you're seeing other people move around. Like, there's so many different forms that, like, our brain in every instance is, like, quickly processing and, making its assumptions, and, it's doing its job to keep us from, keep us surviving. Like, that's its function. And, I really was like, so I start heading out on this walk, right? And I'm feeling annoyed. First off, then it ends up, now I can see now. I heard the sound, but I couldn't tell what this machine was. And I hear the neighbor is having their carpets cleaned. No big deal, right? Good for you. Good on you. Great. They're having their carpets cleaned. But there's this ginormous truck with these ginormous machines in there, and every door is flung open. So, in an ideal world, maybe they shut the doors and it's muffled and we don't hear the machinery of it. But no, lo and behold, it is like ear molesting me, because it is so, it is like, I need earplugs. I am now, like, genuinely concerned for the technician that is cleaning this carpet. But again, this was outside. He was inside, so it probably was much quieter on the inside. But it was so loud. So I began walking, and I'm not joking you when I say I walk 4 blocks and I still hear the machinery, and I'm trying to, like, process it. I'm like, wow, it's really loud. Like, I'm reacting to feeling, all this aggravation from the noise. And so I hit this turn, and I'm like, I'm sure when I hit this turn, I will no longer hear it. And I'm, thinking, gosh, I really hope when I come back, it's not, blasting. And, I'm glad I wasn't filming. You would have heard it for sure. And then what would I have done? Like, so I'm starting to kind of, like, proactively think. I'm, still thinking about it, right? And I hit the turn, and I have this assumption that there will be now peace, like there will be quiet. And for whatever reason, how acoustics work, I don't know, but I hit the turn, and I kid you not, I could hear every sound of the freeway. Cars, semis, motorcycles, and it was just boom, boom, and it was going both directions. And it was like a megaphone in my head. And I could honestly feel my anxiety. I all of a sudden felt very overstimulated. I felt very like, oh my gosh. Like, it was this place where I kind of had to pause and be like, this is kind of like my life a lot of times. Or especially before. I kind of talk about it now. I'm getting better. I'm navigating through it. I am practicing. I'm learning. I am curious. I am improving vastly. But I was like, if I ever had a moment to kind of describe beyond that Bjork song that I tell you that it's like, it's so quiet, shh, and then all of a sudden, brah, and it's like screaming and pots and pans, like, or drums or whatever it is. It's clapping. It was just chaos, right? And that was kind of my life. It was like, it went from not really calm and quiet. It went from, like, aggravating to, like, absolute crazy chaos. And this is what it was. And I stood there, and for this weird moment, it just kind of felt like all of these sounds, all of the things from the chaos and the motorcycles and the semis and the honking and the sound of the velocity of the cars going back and forth in each way, and then the trees moving, and then the branches on the ground, and the leaves flowing down the street, and the cars coming by, and all of a sudden it was just every smell. I could smell eucalyptus, I could smell cut trees, I could smell diesel, I could smell all these smells, all these things, and I just felt like this, again, just this whole tornado swirling around me. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really profound for me. Like this kind of summarizes all of this stuff that's kind of coming in every different kind of, receptory I have here. And my poor little brain, my one little brain has got to process all of this. And so I just took a moment and I was like, I'm safe, I'm at peace, and I'm loved. And I just kept saying this over and over to myself. And I stood there and I honestly said it out loud. I was like, I feel like this is that moment, right? Like a Buddhist monk, or like something that, like, whatever it is. But I was like, right here in this moment of complete chaos, when I'm absolutely overstimulated, if I can pull myself back into me, if I can center myself, if I can try to use some of these tools and these skills I'm learning and begin to practice them, again, like the shower, in a controlled environment where I am really safe, where I am at peace, I can learn how to navigate these kind of storms when they come up and respond the way I want to versus the reactions, right? Because right there in the minute, I just wanted to scream, I wanted to pull my hair out, and I wanted to run the opposite direction. But I said, just keep with it, because I don't have control of every situation and I can't keep running from it. I tried to run from every problem. I tried to appease it. I tried to, let's just, hush it away. Let's distract it with something else. And that didn't work. And it actually just started exasperating. It started getting to the point where I was in chaos so frequently, I could never get out of it. I just couldn't get ahead. But I'm out of the chaos now, right? And it doesn't mean that chaos isn't going to come to me. It doesn't mean accidents aren't going to happen, mistakes aren't going to happen, and curveballs aren't going to be thrown, because they will be, right? But if I'm prepared, if I'm truly prepared to be able to choose how to respond, if somebody criticizes me, if, I feel attacked, if somebody around me is hurting, I have my superpower. And that's magical, right? Like it is so good. And so again, I get to this crossroads where suddenly I get through it and I'm like, wow, okay. So I practiced these little things. It helped. It still was very chaos around me. I'm not going to say it went to like, Snow White birds flapping around and peace. No, it was still chaos, but I kept moving forward. I kept going through it. And I kept reminding myself, and I was like, I wonder if this is how, you hear crazy things where, again, we'll go to like a Buddhist monk or somebody like that is able to go to this place, even though there is all this turmoil amongst them, and really be in peace. And so I don't know, but I know from my experience, from what I experienced today, that had not everything aligned, had I not started taking the walks, each of these small actions, it seems so mundane, but when you add them all together, you have this fundamental, this fabulous, incredible epiphany in right around your corner from where you live. Like I didn't have to go anywhere and seek it. It was the taking a little walk and then learning what it was, like not rushing through it. It was observing the frustration I had from the sounds. It was realizing the reason why it's always so easy for me to relate to music and voices and even like my dance classes. I love the music. And if I hear the music, even when I'm feeling down and tired, it can boost me up. even if I'm up, if I hear a song that is down and sad, it can bring me down. That sounds have this really special place in my experience. It is a sense that is so overwhelming. So like, even when I do that 5 things I see, I don't do 4 things I feel, because I'm a little bit more on the cerebral side than a feeling. I'm trying to get more in touch with my feelings here, but it's not a natural thing, which I mean, again, then it means I probably should go for, but hearing is such an important thing to me personally. Hearing gets number 4, 3 for feeling, 2 for smell, and 1 for taste, because dang it, a lot of times when I'm doing this, I'm just tasting my saliva. Like, maybe I could imagine tasting something good. And, if I am, tasting something unusual, I'm like, oh, hey, I taste coffee. Most of the time it's my dang saliva or mouthwash. I don't mouthwash, but like the toothpaste or whatever. So anyways, so here I was, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can see, like, I felt my heart calm. I felt my heart rate calm. And the funny thing is in the midst of all of a sudden feeling these things, I became aware, because usually I just feel it, right? Like it just was my day to day. But all of a sudden I was like, there's like some alarms going off, like there is chaos. And so I really got to ask myself, like, well, what's going on? Like, we're on a walk, there isn't any clear and present danger around here. Yeah, there's a lot of noise. That's annoying, right? But it's nothing. And I didn't have earphones in to distract me from it. I didn't have a phone to now read. I didn't have somebody to vent to about it. I just kind of had to process it. And I was like, I realized on this walk, for me personally, how sounds really overstimulate me. I went back to my situation where I just said, when the power went out and I went to the pool, and all of a sudden there were all these noises, and I started to feel overwhelmed. And I could go back to like the chaos of when my 4 kids were younger, and it would be really noisy, and I would go into this like feeling like this thing again. Even now that they're older, if all of us are having dinner in our very small kitchen with really like crazy acoustics that like gets like magnified and so loud, if everyone is in there talking, I get uncomfortable. Chris's voice is very, very loud. I feel uncomfortable. So I had this whole epiphany in this moment, in this random walk on a Wednesday morning, about how, for me personally, a loud environment with a lot of different sounds coming in can really overstimulate me and put me in this place where I'm in like this fight or flight mode, and I want to run away, and I want to scream, and I want to get out of there. I can't handle all of this. And so I went through it, and I had to remind myself, look, we got through all the noise and we are still safe. And we are still there. And so I put this challenge on myself, and I said, okay, we have 2 options here. I can go a whole different path home, or I can turn around and go through the storm again, and choose to walk through the storm, knowing there's going to be a storm. There's going to be discomfort, and we can navigate through it. Like, it's okay. I'm going to be okay. And I just kind of wanted to experiment, because like for me, that's what this is about. It's about finding what works for me. Doesn't mean this is going to work for you, but these tools that you can utilize and apply them to your life and create what works for you, what aligns with your thing. Like, if you're like, listen, I don't need to go back through it to know I did it. Like, for me, I need to go back through it and do the reps and say, see, look, I'm okay. I'm safe. And like, see that this tool worked. And if that tool didn't work, I was like utilizing multiple. I was at the same time looking at things like the sky, like finding other things to re-ground me back to here. I was practicing breathing techniques. I was using this as like a little science social experience for myself, so that when I am confronted and I feel this way, I can say, this is what's going on. I have access to that. And my brain's like, oh, there's way too much noise going on here. You're feeling extremely overstimulated. Here is how we can respond versus how we react. So like last week in the pool, like I said, I was trying everything. I was, looking at the sky. I was trying to breathe, but there was still just an inundation of sounds, an inundation of sounds. And I was really testy. I just was on edge. I was like hot, I couldn't tell specifically what the biggest thing. It was a perfect storm of so many different things. But I even noticed when I was feeling all this chaos and I began practicing my tools, my body wanted to almost naturally, I realized like when it was breathing, even though I was walking, I began closing my eyes, and I closed it enough to where I could see feet before me, that I wasn't going to trip and fall or get hit by a car or anything like that. And I know in some senses that makes my hearing even stronger, but I'm not going to walk, like I didn't have earplugs or something to like shut it out, but just being able to like really hone in and focus on not what's coming in this way. I wasn't focusing on what I was tasting. I almost was like shutting off my sense of smell because, again, I didn't even know how to smell until I was like 11 because I needed to have a surgery on my nose. I couldn't blow my nose and none of that. So easy for me to shut off my sense of smell. I could shut that off. I couldn't shut off the sounds, but what I could do was divert my focus. I diverted my focus and my attention to me telling myself, I'm at peace, I'm loved, and I'm safe. And telling myself this on repeat and feeling the vibration in my throat, feeling the vibration in my hands, feeling the beating of my heart, even though I'm in a public place, I was able to just kind of diffuse the situation. And when I went through it the second time, I had all this knowledge. I had all these tools and resources I could easily pull on. And I didn't have any expectations because I was like, you know what? This might have worked on the way up, but it doesn't mean it's going to work on the way back. And, being able to have multiple sources to pull from, breathing in, it really just grounded me and gave me this epiphany that at 47 years, I didn't know. And it makes sense. As I sit here, I'm talking about the noises, and I go back to the noises, sitting in a closet of my parents fighting, things hitting walls, like physically fighting my parents. Things were hitting walls, things were being thrown. You hear papers, you hear screaming, you see your brother crying, you're turning on a record player as loud as it can go. You're trying to play with squeaky kind of toys and things like that to distract the noise. And in some ways, I was very much doing it to protect my brother, but I guess in some other ways, I was also trying to protect me. And I was very scared, and I was uncertain of what was happening there. So really relying on my ears and worrying if like all of a sudden police were going to come and take my parents away, if an ambulance was going to come. So I really became hyper focused on my sounds. Again, when I think about the experience where my mom had a suicide attempt, it's the sounds in addition to some of the visuals, but like the sounds, like turning up the Sesame Street for my brother, these kind of things, the sounds of her voice, like these things kind of really embed on me. And so it took till today to having this place where I was alone with myself, where I was alone to self-reflect and see what this stimuli does to me personally. Maybe you can handle that, and maybe you wouldn't have heard it. Maybe you still would have heard all the birds amongst all the chaos. And for me, I was not able to. And so that doesn't mean I need to walk around with a pair of earplugs in my head and hide from all the noise. But it does mean that perhaps when I get in those type of environments, that it is time for me to make a change. And if I can't make a physical change in that environment, then what I can do is seek that change from within and understand that what is in my control is how I respond. What's happening around me is 100% not around in my control. And my ability to remove myself from that environment, again, isn't always a possibility. Sometimes you're stuck in traffic and there's no movement and you're in the middle lane and it's a dead stop. I mean, yes, you can get out and abandon your car. I mean, there's certain things you can technically do, but a lot of times you kind of are in a place, at least temporarily, where you're unable to move from it. I mean, the chaotic sounds can be, again, a memory. Like these things are like, now that it's making sense, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having all these epiphanies here right with you, is like sitting there in a NICU with my baby and having all the sounds of the monitors and the beeps, and not only his monitors, but then you have other monitors and you're looking and you're overstimulated and people talking and the announcements on the speaker above you and there's just overstimulation. There's all these things. And not having the proper tools or ever learning how to respond in those situations made me react, not made me react. That was just all, that was my survival skill. I mean, it made sense why my blood pressure was so high. I literally was on edge. Like, I felt like every minute of every day, like my skin was electrified underneath. Like I'm just on edge, like looking around, where's the next, catastrophe gonna happen? What's gonna do? And then as a coping mechanism, I became like hyper proactive, right? I'm like, hey, no newsflash here. Chaos is coming. It's coming for you. There is no holds barred. It's going to hit you. It's going to hit the people you love. It's going to hit your kids. It's going to hit it all. So what we're going to do is we're just going to be prepared and be hella scared. We're going to be hella scared, and then we're going to do our best to be prepared. And then even when you can't prepare for certain crap that you can't imagine would ever happen, you're going to now try to figure out how to be prepared, where you could have done better. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to be prepared and be like, okay, here, where can I learn from my mistakes? I don't feel like that. I think that that's definitely a tool, right? Like that's a power that's enabled to do it. But where the problem is the dwelling and the expecting this doom thing to happen. Because guess what? Maybe all the doom things are behind me. Like maybe that's it. We're done. Like we were like, we're going to get this done in 47 years. And the next, 47 years are going to be all in bloom instead of doom. So, I say all that to say, we can't always shift our environment, right? Like that's the obvious thing. I can't, I guess I could, right? Like, but it just didn't personally align with me. I could abandon my son in the NICU. Many people did that, many people didn't come and show up, and I was so confused. Like, how are you not here? Like, what's going on? And obviously everybody has their own stories. There's a single mom and she's still got to get out there and work 2 or 3 jobs, or there's other kids, or there's other things. I don't know what's going on in their situation to sit here and judge. I do know from my experience, from what was told to me by nurses, many of these babies and children get abandoned because the parents can't deal with it, like mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, or, like they just send them there. Like, just weird. I mean, I can't even imagine like a parent having to do that and make those choices. Blessings to them, blessings to the kids. Like, I guess it's a common thing. I just didn't know existed. But anyways, that did not align with me. I knew that much. So I was going to be there. But I can't always stop the noise. So again, now I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I really want to, and obviously it's not an unexpected curveball because I know what I'm going to hear when I hit that turn there. But being able to go there and keep practicing every once in a while, like I kind of do with my daily dose of dysregulation, I am practicing being dysregulated again in another form. Like that is I'm being dysregulated by my feelings, right? So I'm learning how to process that and respond to that instead of being like, and scream and want to run out and run away and turn it off. But to learn how to stay there and breathe amongst the pain and that I don't want to be in. So again, now finding this place that's a few blocks away where I can be absolutely ear overstimulated and learning how to find peace in there is another tool. Again, we have the beauty a lot of times of closing our eyes, and just my body naturally knew like we need to start shutting down some of the sensory and focus in on what's happening here, and being able to focus on a sound that was pleasing, and of the vibration of my voice. I know I said my own voice was pleasing. I know, weird, but like it was very calming, right? It's been with me since I could make noise, so I'm familiar with that sound. And feeling that vibration as I talked and feeling the beat of my heart was a very, very profound moment in my life. And I'm so glad that I had this opportunity and this thought, because I'm thinking of you guys. I'm thinking of the podcast. I'm thinking of this. So I'm thinking of this going on. And then I'm having my real life experiences, and all these things are unfolding. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool that my curiosity and my realization when I was up on that mountain that there's got to be a different way. Like, I don't think ending it is the solution for me. Let's take one more shot at trying to see how different life can be. Like, it takes that one choice, that one decision to change your life either way. If I would have went forward with going off the mountain, it would have changed my life in one way. If I would have drove off the mountain like I did, it changed my life in a different way. And so you are one decision, you are one choice away from changing your life and living the life that you are proud of and you deserve and you are worthy of. So I'm so happy to say I'm here with you today. I am so grateful for you for tuning in. I am so proud of you. And I really hope that you find these little micro moments in your life to have this understanding of who you are so that you respond in a way that makes you proud. So I say all that to say thank you so much for tuning in today. Give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. So thank you. Bye.